And good morning, people, wherever you are in the world. It's Mick Ruby here with my brilliant, freshly woken up person as well, Anil Kandola from Talk Sports. We are not morning persons, are we, Anil? Same as me. We are night owls.
Yeah, exactly. I think he probably would have preferred. It would have preferred for me anyway to do it probably around 3 o'clock in the morning. But look, we're here now. We're in the morning. I think there's no
3 o'clock
better
in the
way.
morning depends where you are in the world. For
Yeah,
me, 3 o'clock.
exactly. It's 3 a.m. somewhere, isn't it? But no, yeah, I think it'll be a good start today to talk all things Man
Yeah.
United, especially when it comes to the transfer. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
Definitely, we will do that. People in the VR room, people watching, please smash a like. We will get right into a lot of things. We have a lot of things to unpack today. It's been a hot minute since I have Anil on from Talksport as well. So we definitely, it's going to be some questions. Please, super chat if you want to ask good questions as well. But have a sip on your coffee and we will be back in 10 seconds because we do have a show for you today. Stay tuned. Whatever you're drinking, raise your glass, cheers, and we see you in 10 seconds, people.
Has the Premier League ever been more challenging?
Altijd wel. I feel welcome. Dit is my home and I want to achieve success. Okay?
Yeah, this is my home too, Anil, this studio, and I want to achieve success. How you been, my friend? I haven't seen you. When did we last see each other? That was in January, right?
Yeah. I think it was just after a game that we jumped on one. I would have come on a lot earlier, as you know, Mick, but obviously, work duties and all that. You've got your commitments already. So yeah. I mean, it's never enough times that we sit down and talk about Man United stuff. But
no, true.
but
And now
we're
when the
here now,
transfer silly season's coming on, you guys over there must be very, very super busy.
Yeah, oh, mate, like you wouldn't believe, to be honest. I mean, just when you think it's going to all come to an end in terms of the football season, I think the transfer season's even busier because of how crazy it can be with obviously all these sources and contacts with stories and all things like that. So yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into a lot of that stuff.
We
Especially
will.
Man United,
Don't you worry, my friend. Ruby style, how it is. Listen, of course, what you say, we thought a lot of people here is probably going to go have a meltdown because it's a Friday, kind of a supposed deadline day set by the certain press and media and stuff like that. We all know the story. So obviously, it's our duty to cover pretty much the takeover. But I think we will do that at the very end. And people I know there's a lot of people tuning in. There's a lot of people have questions for you as well. But I want to focus on football operations today. And that's pretty much, we know that we need new ownership. We need that resolved as soon as possible since the transfer market is kind of opening in 2 weeks' time, internationally on the 14th, if I'm not mistaken. When is it domestically? Isn't it 14th as well? Or
yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Right. So first and foremost, I'm glad to see you. Okay. Secondly, we just unpacked that we are not morning persons. So I hope I have my coffee assisting with me, like free flow of coffee, and I hope you also have. So first of all, I just want to go to see my membership here. People big up in the house. Lucky Singh is here. Angie, one of my moderators as well. Peter Griffin, Damon Jones, Jamie Wayne, 3-inch hypotenuse. There's so many of you in this chatland, and Stephanie Griffith is in the house. Zorro is in the house. Zorro, Ted Lasso, the goalkeeper, I guess. It just changed his name to Zorro. I don't know if you've been following the last episode of Ted Lasso.
To be honest, mate, I've only caught glimpses. I think my cousin who's been staying at my house recently, he's a big fan, so he's been putting it on here and there. But unfortunately, I haven't caught too much of it.
Yeah, Zorro, basically the goalkeeper, he was naming himself. You can be whatever you want, so he named himself Van Damme, right? And then he went to play an international, and he played Dani Rojas, which is Mexico versus Canada. And this Dani Rojas punched the ball and hit him smack in the nose. So he had to wear this mask. So he gave him the name, I want to be Zorro. So good morning to you all. Good morning, Zorro. Good morning, everyone in the house. I can see you. We feel you. We hear you. Angie's there. So guys, it's going to be, a lot of things. Okay, Angie saying, hi, Mick, and hi, Anil. Hi to you, Angie, as well. Wherever you are in the world, it's full sale. Whatever people it's going mental with the sale at the moment. But we are here to talk about the transfers 100% because it's important. equally as new ownership, it is important because we need to move forward as a club, as a team as well. So, Anil, what have you been hearing? What goods have you for us? Of course, we have the striker situation. I want to look at the midfield situation, and I want to also dive into Min Jae as well, and potentially a little bit of a goalkeeping situation. If we start with the tenhag's striker, that is kind of clear and obvious, because that is a kind of a list that's been out in the media and press. We do have looking for 2 strikers, per my understanding as well. Harry Kane, Rasmus Hojlund. There's been even reports regarding the Martinez, right? Lautaro Martinez, and the expensive osimhen, Aussie, 150. What have you been snapping out there in the ether, and
Yeah. It's do you know what? It's a really interesting one, because obviously Man United, as we know, since the beginning of time, will always be linked. I remember a statistic I was told last summer. It was obviously Erik ten Hag's first transfer window, and it was the final week of the transfer remaining. And I was told by someone that there's set to be over 100 different players linked with Man United in the final week of the last transfer window. So if that speak volumes of what it's like to try and follow Man United and be up to date with the potential transfers, I don't think anything will. Yeah. But, in terms of the striker, obviously, it's the one position that Erik ten Hag, if there was only one position he was allowed to fill or replace, it would certainly be there. Obviously, Wout Weghorst, his loan move, didn't exactly live up to expectations of the World Cup, to say the least. We won't go too much into that one, and we'll look forward. And obviously, the injuries to Anthony Martial, to be honest, I think that's probably more frustrating than Wout Weghorst's performances, really. I mean, he'd have 1 game in and then 4 games injured. So, it's really interesting. And obviously, with a striker, it's really exciting for Man United fans, especially to see a goal scorer come into that team, potentially could take them to the next level. So we'll go through all of them, really, in terms of the ones that you've named.
Definitely, but also very important, like before you continue any form of chase, is the budget, right? So there's money pledged for the club, but I've been told it's like about 200 million in overdraft, and then obviously you got to sell as well. So there's a potential kitty like 350. Let's just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, like you just highlighted there, really, I think although the takeover would be really important, especially if it went into Sheikh Yassim's hands, he'd clear all the debt, which would then also allow a further budget in terms of transfers in the summer. So yeah, I think it's one that we've got to take with a pinch of salt, because we don't exactly know the future, or officially anyway.
True.
So yeah, we'll go through. And so Harry Kane's obviously a name massively linked with Man United, of course. Yeah. He's got to the final year of his Tottenham contract, and he's also going to be looking potentially to put pen to paper. Now, whether that's going to be at Tottenham or at another club remains to be seen. But obviously, look, Harry Kane's got a lot of admirers across Europe. It's not just in the Premier League. But as we know, Daniel Levy will drive a very hard bargain, to say the least. And he's very reluctant, I'm being told, to sell to any Premier League side, never mind just Man United. So it will be a very difficult one. And to be honest, don't be surprised if he does get sold to an English club, whether that's Man United or elsewhere, that Daniel Levy and Tottenham don't add on an extra 30 or 40 million, because obviously they're selling to a rival and Harry Kane will remain in the Premier League. But I think with Harry Kane, it's a situation really where he'd probably get a lot more option if he waited another year. I know he's not exactly, a young up-and-coming star. He's in the pomp of his career, and realistically, he's only probably got a few years at the very high peak of his career. So potentially, I was told yesterday there was a story emerging that Harry Kane could potentially even just wait the extra year, obviously, to see what goes on with Ange Postecoglou now at Tottenham. He'll obviously run down his contract, and Daniel Levy effectively won't get any say in terms of where he'd end up. So I think Harry Kane, unfortunately for the Harry Kane fans, I don't think that's going to be a case, because obviously with the budget that they'll potentially spend on Harry Kane, they could get 2 strikers in for probably 7 or 8 years younger than Harry Kane. So yeah, I think although it would be a nice fit and a good fairy tale story for an Englishman to come to Man United, the England captain, to join the biggest club in the country, to then go on to beat Alan Shearer's goal scoring record, it's a great story. But unfortunately, I don't think that's exactly going to be the route that Man United go down at this stage anyway. I think Hojlund's a really interesting one. He's got a lot of admirers at Man United. He's been brilliant, let's be honest.
He's also a Manchester United fan.
Exactly. And people underestimate how big that is, Mick. I think, you've just got to put yourself in them positions. Obviously, I'm sure we all have, thinking and dreaming that we'll all sign for Man United one day. But, if the opportunity arose, and even if it was on less money, potentially, if you're a supporter of the club, if you're a lover of the club, that is a massive pull for players, especially European players who haven't had the chance to grow up in England and watch Man United week in, week out. So I think Hojlund, out of all of them, really, that's the one I've been hearing the most positive things about in terms of the striker position. He's young, and he's the type of mold that Erik ten Hag absolutely loves. A player who's not quite at the level in terms of their full potential, but he can obviously allow them the platform to blossom and really fulfill that potential, as I say. So Hojlund's a really interesting one. Excuse me. It will be certainly one I believe that will be the most likely to happen at this stage.
I believe so too. Yeah.
And obviously, with the recent reports suggesting that Harry Kane may wait another year, Hojlund could be an answer, a short-term answer. But again, it raises the question: is he going to be enough? And now, one that I really want to talk about is Ramos. He is a striker that obviously a few fans are excited about. Not necessarily potentially to be the first choice striker. Obviously, Erik ten Hag is desperate to get 2 strikers in through the transfer
window. That's the Benfica
window.
one. He's got a release clause 120, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a player like that, he is absolute dynamite. And the thing is as well, going back to the Harry Kane stuff, it's really interesting because if he does wait another year to potentially move on, a lot of teams at this moment in time this summer will be looking for a striker. So if they do sign a striker from wherever they are, it potentially may leave Harry Kane in a difficult situation if obviously Man United have signed their strikers, if Chelsea have signed their strikers. And it's good that we mentioned Chelsea because it takes me on finally to Victor Osimhen. And now I remember when we last had this conversation.
I know what you're going to say now. Okay.
On one of your podcasts, we all massively wanted and probably still want Victor Osimhen. He was an absolute gem in Europe and obviously for Napoli last season domestically. He was pivotal in their historic success in the Scudetto. So it's a situation really where unfortunately, although there was a lot of noise coming out of Old Trafford and especially, sources related to a potential move of Victor Osimhen saying that this is healthy. Victor Osimhen is a lover of Man United. He sees the project and he sees himself fitting into it well. I do have a feeling that potentially he could go to Chelsea. Now,
I have a feeling too.
Now,
and I will tell you why.
And it doesn't fill me with any confidence. But if there's a situation where it becomes a bidding war between Man United and Chelsea, I think we've seen over the last 18 months or so that Chelsea aren't exactly scared to spend the money. And of course, they have a lot of assets that they need to get rid of. So, of course, the academy players that they do sell, potentially Mason Mount, obviously, I'm sure we'll get onto him a little bit later on. But if they sell players from the academy, that's 100% profit because they didn't pay anything for these players to come into the club in the first place. So, they've got a lot of assets that they can sell quite quickly to obviously raise the funds for a midfielder and also a striker like Victor Osimhen. So although it's very early on at this stage, I think at this moment in time, Hojlund's probably the most likely to come into Man United, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be the only one to come into Manchester United.
Yeah. Let me just unpack what you just said there as well, because coming back to, okay, let's start with the I will come to Osimhen last, but actually we'll talk about Osimhen, because when I actually looked into his player profile, we scored and all those stats, right? And you compare him, if you look at his weaknesses, it's not a Ten Hag player at all. Holding up the ball is weak. I mean, his strongest attributes is, of course, he's a fox in the box. He's within that penalty area. He's very strong.
He's a dynamic number 9, isn't he?
Yeah. But he's not very good at pressing. He's not very good at holding up the ball kind of things, right? So, and 150 million, right? It's a little bit of extortion. So, knowing Chelsea, and Todd Bowley, and he spent about 600 million in all in transfer. His transfer target is pretty much look at what United is going for and what his rivals are going for and just going all in. We've seen it. And he will offer 7 years contracts. He did a typical with the Arsenal as well. The Arsenal were deep in with Mudryk, right? In comes Todd Bowley. Here you go, 90 million. Slap the cash. So
similar with Enzo Fernandez as well. There's a lot of
yeah. So I'm not worried about that one. Let them go and chase the expensive one. I want Manchester United to be more astute with the transfers. And we're gonna get to that. So obviously, 2 strikers, fine. 100% agree with you regarding Hojlund, Rasmus Hojlund. he is a tenhag striker. If you look at his player profile, still young, still tall striker, as we know, but he's very explosive. Still a diamond in the rough, somebody to work with, and gives me a little bit of a thought process that he came out that he says he's looking for a left winger as well. That means that is he going to start fizzing out Martial, start playing more like, with a Rashford as a central figure, rotating with Rasmus Hojlund, right? And then also there's a story regarding Mason Greenwood that he potentially might go on loan. So that looks like Mason Greenwood's going to stay on as a Manchester United player on the contract. So I don't know how the stories is correct that he's going on loan or staying, but that is also playing a part in this squad, because we've got to talk about Greenwood as well, because he's a Manchester United player. Harry Kane situation though, obviously Daniel Levy is the factor. I know we spoke to Graham Bailey as well from 90 Minutes about a month ago or so, and he said Daniel Levy will never sell to a Premier League top 4 club to strengthen them. No way. He's gone out with 100 million, 12 months left on his contract. We know that Ancelotti also was left high and dry with Benzema going to Saudi Arabia. So he's also looking for a striker as well. So Daniel Levy's going to say to them like 110. They basically said, no, forget about it. Everyone that's doing transfers knows that a player with 12 months left in his contract, you cannot ask that much money, right? So yeah, I mean, it's down to Harry Kane, as what you said. I also heard that he might run down his contract. You had Angie coming in as well. I can never pronounce his Greek surname. He's Australian.
Postecoglou. I'm sure I've got that wrong. I've said it really confident, in a confident way. But yeah, Postecoglou, I believe, the way to do it.
On the other hand, it comes down to the player, and his brother is his agent, so his brother has to sort him out to say, look, bro, here's what you're going to do. Either you run down your contract, you're free agent, you go, but you'll be 31. What are you all about? Are you want to win trophies? Do you want to be something? It's down to your own character, your mental character, like what you want to do. Because last season he had the same situation. He spoke to Levy regarding going to City. He had this farewell interview. He went to play golf with Gary Neville, and then it never happened. He stayed another year. So it is a catch-22 situation. Yes, we need a sort of a Kane character to be that leader on the pitch, but I'm more in favor of a younger striker that can be there for long-term longevity, right? If you look at a short-term success, yes, Kane might be your answer, but it's not a guarantee, right? It's not a guarantee that you will win the Premier League next year, 2 years. If he stays another year at Spurs, he's 31, and the resale value is gone. That's what I'm saying. So there's a little bit of a catch-22 situation. If you're splashing 100 million on Kane, you have no resale value because he's basically going to go for retirement afterwards.
Yeah, I think the one thing with Harry Kane, and obviously at this stage, TalkSport sources do understand that Tottenham are very confident in keeping Harry Kane this summer. And I think the one big, really, really pivotal thing in this whole scenario with Harry Kane is, does he stay another year with Tottenham to see out the rest of his contract, or does he put pen to paper for another deal? And now you can start to understand a little bit of why he would stay a year, to just run down the contract and then really open up the options. Yeah. But then if he did sign another contract at Tottenham, you would have to question really his motivation and really what he wants out of his career. As you've alluded to, he needs to have a real sit down and think, is it trophies that he wants, or is it individual accolades? And if it's individual accolades, I'm sure he'll be able to reach all the heights and the goals that he really wants to at Tottenham in terms of the goal scoring. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting one moving forward. And I don't think, unfortunately, at this stage that Kane will be a Man United player, if I'm being honest.
No, I just want to spin further on, so people saying that Harry Kane is a family man. He likes to stay close to his grandparents and parents and all that stuff, and he wouldn't go to Real Madrid. But then you think about it from a player's perspective, to finish off your career in Spain, nice weather, Real Madrid, who are you kidding? One of the biggest club in the world. You're guaranteed to win something, like win La Liga, potentially win Champions League. That plays a big part of it. So I'm sure if you sit down and talk to your family, hey, 3 years in Spain, it's a very
it's not too bad, is it?
Not too bad. And you follow on the legacy of your old mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Play golf a little bit. You know what I mean? Gareth Bale, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, so definitely you have a reference point at as well. So I just want to move away from Kane because I feel that there's going to be another Frankie De Jong saga dragging on the window, and
potentially.
we know that Daniel Levy is playing hardball with Real Madrid as well. It's like he's not going to budge. So that's a catch-22 situation. Either you cash in now because I know Spurs needs investments, or you take that risk to run down his contract. So I put that on a harder meter down at 40% at this moment, Anil, like, from my
Yeah,
perspective. But regarding Hojlund, right, they got the same agency. We know that Ten Hag has numerous video conferences as well. They have the same representation. That one I see to be a very, very good one coming in on a good price, on about 40 million. I think it was a 45 million pounds, right? 50 million euros approximately. So that is kind of like, yeah, you can get that, and you still have money in the kit.
yeah, still leaves a budget, doesn't it, for obviously the potential rebuild in midfield as well, doesn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that there will have to be a bit of savvy business, should we say, from Manchester
yeah.
United. They are working on a budget at this moment in time, and obviously they
But
will have to raise
yeah,
funds through sales as well. So yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting summer, Mick. But I think a couple of players, whether it's in the midfield or even up front in
yeah,
terms of Hojlund, they're probably going to have to pick some players that aren't exactly in the pomp of their career, as I say, but
true.
potential wise, and Ten Hag can blossom them into obviously
Yeah.
fulfilling that potential that they have.
Yeah, regarding Giancarlo Ramos, I see that as a very 20%, very low, very low. Like, you're dealing with Benfica as well. And
Yeah,
you know who is the president of Benfica. If he says 120 release clause, it's 120. He's not going to go
yeah,
lower down. And I don't think we're going to go for that kind of player either, especially if you can get a player profile like, Rasmus Hojlund. Even Benjamin Sesko, like in the scouting department, loves him over there. Like,
yeah.
been scouting him. So I haven't heard much of that. That was kind of hot in January, but those type of players, he's like, Ten Hag is mad about them. Like, they're tall, fast, explosive finishers, and here you go. So that might mean that Anthony Martial is going. I don't
I
know.
think, yeah, I think it's an interesting situation with Anthony Martial. I think, look, he's been given ample opportunity this year to obviously prove that he can stay fit. And look, you've got to almost take things with a pinch of salt when it comes to injury. You never wish an injury on anyone, and it's really unfortunate, obviously, for him as an individual. Forget, football and Man United. It's a shame that he can't stay physically fit for him to, do his job at the end of the day. But football's a business, and we've got to look for obviously the answers, really. And unfortunately, Anthony Martial isn't an answer for Man United because of obviously his lack of reliability in terms of his fitness. So I think if it was up to Erik ten Hag and obviously him getting in a couple of strikers in that position, even with potentially Mason Greenwood coming back, so let's even say there's 3 strikers coming into the fold at Old Trafford, Anthony Martial will probably be surplus to requirements, but the problem is really his wages. I don't think there's many teams that would take such a risk on a player who's really good on his day. Let's not, get that twisted. But unfortunately, his wages are so high in terms of what he brings for his fitness levels and his availability that I don't really expect many teams to take that risk on a player like that on the money that he's on.
No. Let's move on from him. And there's one more player that I forgot to mention, and there is actually, Lautaro Martinez is playing a final for Inter on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So it's been
And I think
reports.
every Manchester United fan will want to sign Martinez if he scores the winner against Manchester
will.
City on Saturday. I
But
will
you can get him.
personally drive him to Old Trafford myself.
Yeah.
If he does that.
You can get him for 65 million pounds, and together you add on with the Hojlund, you have 100 million there already. 2 strikers, and he is a Ten Hag player. If you look at his stats, look at his weakness. He has no weakness. It's all positive, right? So if you can get those 2 players, 2 strikers, that you have 100 million. You got to think it that way as well, Anil. So yeah, cool. Let's just move the strikers away. I don't know. I don't see Kane happening very soon. I don't. If it's so, it's going to drag on to the end of the transfer window. And we know Erik ten Hag.
It's not really something Man United want to be getting involved with, especially with how DeJong sort of,
We will get to DeJong later on, obviously.
Obviously, come on, you can't talk transfers if it's not about DeJong when it comes to Man United.
True. In terms of midfield, for me, that's working as an intermediate as well. There's been a little bit of a close card to Erik ten Hag's chest. We heard a little bit of agent talk regarding Mason Mount. We know that Chelsea needs to offload a lot of papers. I think it's more of an agent trying to push the move. And club is saying, like, evaluation is like, oh, we want 70 million pounds or 80 million euros. And Manchester United is not willing to pay more than 50, right? So that's where we are at the moment, right? There's nothing more to it. You can agree personal terms. It's normal practice. Agents agree with multiple clubs, personal terms. Not a problem. That's what they're saying. But the question is, it could be number 6, 7 down on Erik ten Hag list.
Yeah.
What's your take and thought on Mason at the moment?
Yeah, well, look, I'll be perfectly honest, and I'm happy to stand by things, obviously, when I say them, if things evolve. But I look at someone like Mason Mount, and if obviously you look at Man United's team in specific, and obviously that's the team that we're discussing at the moment, if Mason Mount were to come in and replace Eriksen, who I think is just simply not good enough to be playing week in, week out for Man United, he can obviously be more than capable of having a cameo off the bench. But if we look, obviously, Mason Mount coming into Man United, as I say, he will strengthen the starting 11. Obviously, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on, Eriksen's just not at the level we need him to be in order to really push on. So Mason Mount does obviously make sense in terms of a comparison with Eriksen. But if you look at the bigger picture, and as we've said earlier today, Manchester United at this moment in time will be working on a budget, and they'll have to sell players in order to raise money to increase that budget to bring in the players that Erik ten Hag wants. And I look at someone like Mason Mount and I think, look, he's a hard-working young lad who Erik ten Hag could potentially blossom into a player that's, got real star quality. But then again, you go back to this budget, and if obviously Chelsea are at the 70 million mark, which, let's be honest, is absolutely ridiculous. They're not going to get anywhere near 70 million for a player with 1 year left on his contract. It's absolutely absurd. And as I said a little bit earlier on, that this is a situation really with Mason Mount that obviously Chelsea are going to make 100% profit on it because they didn't pay anything to bring Mason Mount into the club. He's an academy product, and they will be obviously having no salon clauses or anything like that from previous clubs. So they'll be obviously keen to really cash in on him. But obviously from a Manchester United perspective, I would be open to someone like Mason Mount, but not really at the prices that Chelsea want. And especially, I think Mason Mount is a player, I think, if he was brought in, not necessarily as a guaranteed starter, if we sign another midfielder and they could have competition, I'd be all for it. But if you're signing Mason Mount to potentially be the answer to the partnership with Casemiro to really take Man United to the levels that they want to reach, which is obviously the Champions League and Premier League victory or even a title charge, I'm still not that convinced that Mason Mount will be able to do that at this stage. But, I'm happy to be proven wrong.
I'm happy to be proven wrong as well, because I think that he's on the list from the homegrown quota in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to have, out of 27 squads, you need to have at least 8 that's over 21 and local talent. So he fits that profile as well. And he also fits that profile in rotational squad. If you're going to replace a Scott McTominay, for instance, you put somebody that's better, more advanced engine. And obviously he hasn't had a great run of form, like it's been chopped and changed in Chelsea, like that's just been like open heart surgery over there as well, like different managers, different ownership, but his work rate is unreal. I think Erik ten Hag sees something in him.
Because he was chasing him at Ajax, wasn't he? Back in, I think it was 2018, was it? I think he was eager to even sign him back in his time in Holland. So I think it's someone that he has really obviously chased over the last few years, and it's interesting with Mason Mount and obviously Declan Rice, which we'll be discussing, I think, as well. Yes. I was told about in terms of the England setup that Luke Shaw has really been, not tapping up these players. That I think that's the wrong way to put it, but he's just suggesting that at Manchester United, there's a really good feeling around the club since Erik ten Hag's come in. The ethos and the philosophy that he's implemented is something that's really attractive. And obviously, Luke Shaw did have a cryptic interview, if you like, saying that there will be players that are coming in. So you almost think that he's had a little bit of info from one or two of his friends that they may be interested in coming to Manchester United.
We need we need more than one midfielder.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So how would you? I mean, I'm more like in touch with the intermediate market as well. So all I know is it's more of the agent pushing as well. It's been like they've been having talks with Chelsea, so he's a surplus of requirements. He's free to go, 12 months left, and it's like see what you can find for him. But I don't think Manchester United will kind of take the bait. They will say maximum 50, and that's the way it is, and we will see, right? Todd
Yeah.
Bowley, we know, will be pressured because he needs to offload players as well to strengthen as well. And he's also looking at the FFP rules and charges if he's not doing that. So yeah, 100%. So just park him on the corner. Let's see how that will develop, because I think media is reporting more sensational stuff than it actually is. We're still early in, so we'll see. What's your take and thought? You think that kind of it's still way too early, like, you know?
In terms of what? Sorry, in
terms of catching up with what the press is saying, like, you know, they're preparing a bid, blah blah blah. Like, you know, what do you mean preparing a bid? Transfer window is not really open yet, but they can have a pre-negotiation discussions.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what I
where,
think?
Where does the truth lie? If you look at it, is it somewhere in the middle, or?
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's really difficult to obviously sift through a lot of the information that we receive. But you know, I think let's even take someone like Min Jae, for example, right? He's a situation that obviously a lot of Manchester United fans want. It's safe to say, really, that he was arguably one of the best, if not the best defender in Europe last season. He was that reliable for Napoli and obviously pivotal to their success. So I think it's someone that Man United fans would really love to have in their arsenal. And I was told, obviously, there's a buyout clause on Kim. Manchester United and Erik ten Hag in particular is really eager to meet that and get him through the doors. But obviously, I was told yesterday, and as TalkSport were reporting yesterday as well, that Newcastle have made their interest in Min Jae very clear. And look, this is potentially, I tweeted this last night, this could potentially be a situation with Cody Gakpo. As you'll probably know yourself, Mick, personal terms were agreed. The fee was set there from PSV. All Manchester United needs to do was pay it, and they would have got Cody Gakpo in through the doors.
Yeah,
and
that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and you just think, could this potentially be another situation for Man United where they're umming and ahhing about the potential buying of it? Do they need to pay that? Should they, try and fleece them for even more money and all that kind of stuff? And while they're diddy-daddly, and someone like Newcastle who mean business, they want to get their stuff they're done very quickly, should I say, and they could potentially swoop in and get someone like that. So I think these early bids that we're starting to hear in terms of preparing an opening bid for certain players, I think are genuine, if I'm being honest with you. I think these situations, especially under Erik ten Hag, and I think the situation with Frankie de Jong last season, where he realised how much time potential deals can take, and it could take you through right until the end of the window, so much so that they could have potentially lost that on Casemiro last season because they were chasing Frankie de Jong for that long. So it's certainly a situation where, if they don't move and they move quickly, potentially other clubs could come in for the players that they want, and unfortunately take them off the Manchester United hands and the potential books that they could sign onto. So yeah, I think them situations in terms of obviously getting these deals ready nice and early, that's something that Erik ten Hag really driving from Manchester United. He wants to get things done early and get as many players as possible on that pre-season tour.
It's very interesting you say that, because we are starting to act like a club on the sudden under Erik ten Hag. We've seen that transfers do happen earlier than you guys think. Actually, it's way early in the planning, so it's quite normal that already in January, February, to start looking at the summer transfer targets and already engaging with the intermediates and what you're saying about regarding Min Jae, 100% has got legs in it, right? Because they had conversations, they know there's a release clause, and if you can go and offer above, and then we've seen, of course, that they his mother club is trying to sort of get him to stay to sign another contract. That contract has always been on the table since January, but it's been clear that he wants to leave to a Premier League club. Then it's down to the player, you want to play for Manchester United, like your fellow countryman Min Jae, and was it Park? Yeah, Park. Yeah,
Park,
yeah. And or you want to go for an up and coming Newcastle. Both team plays in the Champions League. I think at the end of the day, Manchester United has a pulling effect as well, right? So
yeah. I think obviously one really interesting point is, and someone who will have a big part to play in terms of who Manchester United will sign at the back, is Harry Maguire. Now, Harry Maguire, I was told yesterday that the idea of playing in Serie A does excite him. It's probably a league that, is more suited to his attributes, shall we say. And it's a situation where if someone like Kim comes in, or even any centre-half comes in, Harry Maguire could potentially find himself in sixth in terms of the position and the favouritism in terms of the starting 11 for Manchester United. Obviously, you know, you've got Varane in there, you've got Martinez, you'll have
and he's
Lindelof.
gone.
You'll have potentially this new signing, whether it's Kim or someone else. And also, you know, it's key to remember that at one stage of the season, Luke Shaw was playing over Harry Maguire in that team. So if you put him above him in the pecking order, Harry Maguire falls down to sixth. So, you know, potentially there could be a little bit of scope. I was speaking to one of my sources yesterday. Perhaps Manchester United could potentially use Harry Maguire in a Kim deal if required, if necessary.
Oh, like a swap deal.
Like a swap deal, obviously, potentially even more money. But obviously, with this release clause, with this release clause, you know, Harry Maguire, Manchester United will be confident or certainly hopeful that they could potentially get around the 40-45 million mark for him anyway. So that could potentially be something to watch out for. You know, Harry Maguire, although sports sources have been told quite frequently that Harry Maguire is eager to stay at Manchester United and fight for his place. You know, unfortunately, I think that's probably the only thing that he can say at this stage. You know, he can't come out and say, you know, the treatment that he's had is unfair and he wants to leave. I think that would be an element of unprofessionalism, to be honest. So I think, you know, that's expected from Harry Maguire's camp. But, you know, it's certainly a situation where, you know, he could be used as a bargaining chip or certainly a swap deal in terms of bringing someone in the other way.
Just a quick one. Just let me just re-comment on what you just said as well, because I think that, barring that he's had like 10 appearances as Manchester United shirt, it's also to play like, you know, I'm playing for the biggest club in the world. I'm getting good money paid. Potentially,
it's comfort, isn't it? It's comfort.
Yeah, potentially win like, you know, a Champions League or whatever. Of course, you don't want to leave, but at the end of the day, you want to play games as well. You're gonna want to be selected for Southgate, stuff like that. And this was one thing that crossed my mind, that Harry Maguire's playing style should be more suited for a Serie A, like slower tempo, where they play that type of football.
Yeah.
So what you just said here makes sense. Like, you know, if you can do a potential swap deal, like actually offering Harry Maguire and plus cash or equal,
if necessary,
if necessary, 100%. But anyway, like, you know, you still got to trigger that release clause, and the reason why they want to extend his contract to increase his value.
Yeah, so obviously to increase the potential budget that they'll get for him. Okay. But yeah, I'm sure you want to talk about obviously the midfield as well, Mick.
Yes,
and obviously
we do. We want to play one.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, I know we're running out of time, but we'll try and go through as much as we can. Obviously, we've touched on Mason Mount. I think Declan Rice is a really interesting one. You know, he's obviously all over.
Where's Declan Rice going?
At this stage, I'm pretty confident in saying that it's looking like Arsenal. They're preparing their opening bid as we speak, and it's a hell of a lot of money for him. Let's not make no bones about it. There's always going to be that English tax that we're always getting told about. But yeah, I think at this stage, it certainly looks like Declan Rice will be an Arsenal player. Now, obviously, look, this will be potentially subject to change. Chelsea are interested, Manchester United are interested, but obviously in the situation of Manchester United and potentially as well Chelsea, you know, their priority is to get a striker through the door. And if you're going to be spending the best part of 100 million on a player for both Chelsea and Manchester United respectively, I don't think it's going to be in the midfield to start off with. So, you know, it's a situation, I think at the moment, Declan Rice looks like he's going to be Arsenal bound. He likes the idea of playing with Mikel Arteta. He sees the project and he sees himself being a pivotal part in obviously taking Arsenal potentially to the next level, which is, you know, winning the Premier League or, you know, really challenging in the Champions League and making a name for themselves back in Europe again. So, unfortunately for Manchester United fans, although there's a lot of admirers at Manchester United of Declan Rice, including Erik ten Hag, and he'd probably be put in a situation where he'd have to alter his game to play next to Casemiro. He wouldn't have to necessarily be so defensive. He could have the license to go forward because Casemiro, I like to say he's like 1.5 players in that central midfield, isn't he? So, yeah, I think... Exactly. I think that there's a good point there. He could probably be a future captain wherever he goes. But at this stage, I don't think Declan Rice will be going to Manchester United. There you go. Jamie's put it very bluntly, hasn't he? But yeah, I think jokes aside, I think Declan Rice will probably be an Arsenal player at this stage. Like I said, with transfers, they can change by the hour, never mind by the day or week. So at this stage, I think Declan Rice will be going to Arsenal. And now another name, really.
But that means, wait. If they're going for all in for a Declan Rice, that means that there's a Caseido in the mix there, right?
Now this is exactly where I was going to go with this, Mick. Potentially Arsenal. There's been rumours going around, and certainly more than just rumours. There's concrete information there. There you go. There's concrete information there that Caisedo has interest from Chelsea as well as Arsenal. So we could even be in a situation where if Mikel Arteta believes that Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah are the strike answers to taking him where he wants to be, which for me doesn't really sound very threatening from a rival perspective, and they do want to focus on the midfield. Wow, you look at someone like Declan Rice with Caicedo in midfield, that is a brilliant partnership and potentially could be one of the best in the Premier League. But I think that the door's really opened, as you say, for Caicedo if Rice does go to Arsenal. If they do focus on obviously bringing in a striker or potentially another defender, we'll look at a situation where Caicedo could be open to Man United. But I think one name that we will be hearing a lot of, obviously, as soon as the transfer window officially opens, is Rabiot. This is a player that will come in as a free transfer. And look, with Manchester United, at the end of the day, a free transfer is always attractive, isn't it? Because you don't have to pay any money for them.
You just mentioned the word free.
Exactly. So Man United are almost like, sign me up. How can we not say yes to a free signing? But look, Rabiot brings experience. Yes. He's obviously got a lot of experience across Europe, and he's almost got this inner belief in his own ability that really brings a fierce look to that midfield alongside Casemiro if he does get game time.
You see also the depth, like in squad depth, right?
Exactly. And look, at the end of the day, as you said earlier, Mick, it's not going to be a situation where Man United sign one midfield and they're going to be happy with that. I've been told that Erik ten Hag wants up to 7 signings, potentially even more if it's possible, with obviously a lot of the players.
If you want 7 signings, you got to look at, not only the clear and obvious, but you're going to look at what's for free, what's in the relegation.
Exactly. You've got to be savvy in the window. As I said, you've got to bring in players like this for a cheap deal, and you're not really going to get anyone of that level for a free anyway. And you look at someone like Marcel Sabitzer, who Man United aren't going to obviously renew his contract in terms of a permanent deal. Rabiot would probably be a similar situation in terms of what he can bring, but obviously it'll be 20-odd million pound less. So I think Rabiot is an interesting one. And one that I really want to talk about and probably wrap up the midfield discussion, Mick. Obviously, I'll let you come in now, is obviously Sofyan Amrabat. It's a situation, I think you probably would have saw it yesterday. His brother's come out and he's been a little bit vocal, hasn't he, in terms of Erik ten Hag, and saying that he blossomed under him. That's where he really made his breakthrough. And look, I'm sure plenty of the listeners, as well as yourself, Mick, got to watch the game against West Ham. He was brilliant, wasn't he? The rage
even
of
the World Cup.
Exactly. From then, I think he's really got into the forefront of people's cameras, shall we say.
Don't sleep on Amrabat, 25 to 30 million.
Yeah, and he's only 26 years old. Yes. This is another player, again, that will come in at a really good price, especially, we'll look at a situation that he could come in and he could really make a difference. His range of passing, his confidence on the ball, he's press resistant enough so that he could get into that midfield and really make a difference. I think we've just got something there. Stephanie's just said, and that will do, and we'll put you in charge of recruitment. Well, look, if it was me in charge of recruitment, Stephanie, I'd blow the whole budget on Kylian Mbappe. So I think it's best if we just talk about the transfers rather than being involved.
Don't blow the budget. Yeah, no, 100% echo what you're saying. Amrabat, Moroccan striker. I remember him, was it Morocco? Yes, Morocco was it. Yeah. I remember World Cup, that's where it kind of rang, and Fiorentina. So if you look at Amrabat versus a Declan Rice for 100, you can get an Amrabat for 30, 35, 40 million euros. Boom, done, bada bing, bosh, bosh, bosh. You know what I mean? So definitely that's the one to look after for as well. Have a look at it. But I think that Ten Hag is keeping his cards very close to the chest when it comes to the midfield, right? Yeah. When it comes to the clear and obvious, he lets Arsenal chase. Let Arsenal and Chelsea chase put the bidding price in, and while we will focus on our targets. Caseido is the one that I really want as well. I really like his outputs.
And someone like that next to Casemiro would be brilliant, wouldn't he? To really learn the dark art, shall we say, that Casemiro brings. You know, the cleverness and the wit to be able to make tackles in certain situations, to accept the book in here and there. So yeah, I think Casemiro would provide a brilliant partner for anyone coming in. Thanks a lot, Stephanie. Appreciate that. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting summer, Mick. I think I was told very early on to what Sandy said there, to bring his crazy mum. Yeah, unfortunately, that's part of with Rabiot. That's, I think, the problem last time when Man United
he's departed from. She's not the agent anymore, right? So that's
no, but I think that's even more worrying, because then she can focus on being the crazy mum, not just the agent.
Oh, yes.
So, but no, I think look, it's a situation.
The soccer mom.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. So look, with Manchester United, they're going to be linked with all sorts of players. You know, I was told very early on, a good few weeks ago now, just looking at the date, that expect a signing from Manchester United in the first week of the window, and the same source said at least one signing in the first week of the window, which is completely unheard of, really, isn't it, when it comes to Manchester United? They never really do their business early since the Sir Alex Ferguson days.
Okay,
and even then they left it quite late. So I think it's going to be a very interesting summer, Mick, and a lot of things and a lot of.
I 100% agree with you.
To digest over the summer. Yeah,
I'm just concerned about the timings, because I know you got to dash it.
Yeah.
So Caseido, I think that one is also going to be a one to watch for,
definitely,
because we know that, you know, Todd Bowley, it's either you're going to have Rice or you're going to have a Caseido. You can't have both, right?
No,
if you budget. And even Arsenal is not, you know, that asset rich in terms of Kroenke, what they're going to do, right? If they're going to go all in for Rice, where's the money going to come from Caseido? They're not going to get both, right? And the same thing goes with Chelsea as well. So, but we know that Todd Bowley is crazy. He will just go for it, like whatever.
If he needs to, he will.
If he needs to. In terms of Rabiot, I think that might be the first signing that he does, as it's a free signing. You know what I mean? Free agent. Come at me, and I don't oppose it as all. Like, you know, he's a experienced player, can come off the bench, offer something. Mason Mount, we see how that will go as well. Obviously, Erik ten Hag knows best. What we say, bold knows best. And leaves us to the final piece of the jigsaw from last summer as well. Apparently Barcelona is in deep shit. Sorry, my language. Media can spin it as much as they want. They can't even register certain players, Gavi and stuff like that. They are in dire to offload players, massively. Yeah. They couldn't even sign back Messi, the legend. So Messi had to go into Miami. You know, that was a pipe dream. So this will come back on the cards again, and trust me, it will be coming back on the cards again. I don't want to have another 2.0 saga, but at the end of the day, we know that Ten Hag tried, pushed, and it was like the deferred wages came to play. He didn't want to leave. He was advised to stay, because who would walk away from 20 million owned money? You're a young player. It's a lot of money, 20 million euros. Do you see? I see some. It's starting to build up again. I see some people starting to ride again, and it wouldn't surprise me. But you know that he's a Ten Hag player. Yeah, he's a one that can play next to a Casemiro, a ball carrier, press resistant player.
Yeah, I think. Look, it makes you laugh a little bit, doesn't it, when you speak about Frankie De Jong to Man United, especially of course last season, where Man United were linked and Erik ten Hag was chasing him throughout all of it. Effectively in the summer, you know, to really try and bring in his old friend from Ajax, Frankie De Jong, and start this
his son,
start this Dutch dynasty, as you like, at Manchester United. But look, it's a situation with Frankie De Jong that, as you've said, you know, there will be links to a move to Manchester United, obviously with Barcelona's financial difficulties at the moment. And it's certainly one that's obvious, as you say, it's gonna have to really, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. As we've seen, we still bear the scars of last season in terms of Erik ten Hag going for Frankie De Jong. He went for him so long that I was told that he almost messed up the Casemiro deal. Casemiro was ready to join Manchester United effectively at the start of the window. Yeah. So, you know, and Erik ten Hag was holding out just in case he had to pick, and potentially could have messed up arguably Man United's best player of last season. So I think they'll certainly be interested in, obviously, Frankie De Jong potentially again, but I don't think it's going to be a situation where Man United chase him. I think Erik ten Hag will get an answer and early, and then potentially move on from there and bring someone else in the midfield. And you've also got to think, look, he's not going to be cheap. He's going to be upwards of what, potentially 60 odd million. And look, it's going to be a situation where Man United are going to have to be very careful. They're going to have to be very savvy with the money that they spend. And 70 million on Frankie de Jong if you're going to be linked with the likes of Mason Mount, which again doesn't really make sense either, does it? If you're linked with Mason Mount, why would you go in for someone like Frankie de Jong? So it's going to be one to watch for certain.
Yeah, 100%. And I think here's the thing: like Ten Hag's been vocal regarding I need quality signings, I need this. He's been quite vocal in the press lately as well, astutely. This is him basically calling out because he doesn't know. It's beyond his pay grade who's the new owner is going to be. He's just been knowing that currently you have this kind of budget, right? But he wants to know with the new ownership comes new budgets as well, clearing the FFP, clearing the debts and everything. So this is what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, he will, if this is going to happen, it's also going to come to the end of the window. I think I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. But if Ten Hag all of a sudden knows, I got more money to spend, it's easy then to go and negotiate with Laporta again to say, here's 65 million cash on the table, take it or leave it. I know you need money. Here you go, right? Off you go, right? So it's going to be interesting to see, but I don't want this to be another in combination with a Harry Kane and be 4.0 spin story. So let's just see how that develops. Transfer window doesn't open until 2 weeks internationally. So anyway, cool. Okay, so we're coming to the end. Goalkeeper. Yeah. Will Degea sign his contract? Will he?
Yeah, it's look with David De Gea, it's really difficult, isn't it? At the end of the day, because the performance in the cup final, I think, really was the final nail in the coffin for a lot of Manchester United fans. I do think that a lot of Man United fans would be open to him staying at the club if obviously he reduces his contract, and this is the big one, that Man United do sign another goalkeeper to provide direct competition there, and also potentially take David De Gea out of the limelight and give someone else an opportunity. So yeah, it's really interesting. But I think, look, the goalkeeper, as much as many people think this is a priority, which I think it is, obviously after the last few games for Manchester United, especially the big ones that David De Gea has failed to perform in, that the writing's on the wall a little bit for David De Gea. But look, I don't think that this is going to be a situation where Ten Hag's really going to have it at the
as a
forefront
priority. No, I don't think so either.
It's not going to happen, unfortunately, for the David De Gea haters, should we call them? So look, I think it's going to be a situation, especially with David De Gea, if they can get someone in, and David De Gea almost will be in a situation where, I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but the potential new signings, whether it's the striker or midfield, don't happen straight away, because then Manchester United will have a bit of time to think about where else can they improve the squad, and David De Gea will eventually become in the firing line. So it's definitely one to keep an eye out on. I don't think at this stage that it's a massive priority. I don't even think potentially it'll be in the top three. I think Man United will want to sign a striker, potentially two, a midfielder, potentially two, and a centre half as well.
But that's what I've been told too, Anil. Like, if there's money left in the transfer market, goalkeeper will be the last one that will revisit. Currently they have a good goalkeeper. He's quite happy. Of course, there's been some Golden Glove stuff. Is he going to sign a new contract? But the goalkeeper is the last priority for Ten Hag to sign at the moment, as he knows he needs to fill the strikers, the midfielders. He's got a potential centre back coming in as well. Right back is sorted. Like, with the Wan-Bissaka, he's happy with Wan-Bissaka, Dalot. Left backs is also sorted. You have Malacia and Shaw as well. So you just have to sort of plug that midfield gap as well.
Yeah,
which
just
is
quickly as well. Jarvis, I think he was in the comment section, was asking.
Jarvis, yes.
Yeah. Thoughts on why Maguire suddenly wants to stay? And I'll just answer this very quickly before we move on. And I know we're running out of time.
Jarvis is one of my co-hosts.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. And I'll give him an answer, only because he's one of your co-hosts, Mick. That's what. Yeah. No, I think look, with Harry Maguire, look, it's a really difficult situation that he finds himself in. Look, at the end of the day, he still wants to represent his country. He still wants to be playing at the highest level of football because he believes he's at that level. And now, whatever we think in terms of our own personal opinion, almost becomes irrelevant here. He's an individual who wants to, as I say, play at the very highest level that he can possibly play at. And I think, look, although we're getting reports, and as TalkSport have reported as well, that Harry Maguire is really keen on staying. He wants to fight for his place and really prove that he can get into the Manchester United team. I think at the end of the day, this is only this is the only thing that Harry Maguire can really say at this stage. He can't come out and say, look, I'm throwing my toys at the pram. He carries himself in a very professional way most of the time, especially when he's playing for England, not necessarily when he's playing for Man United. And sometimes he comes out with these really strange comments about how the club have never lost or how the team haven't lost this season when he's been playing and nonsense like that. But I think, look, Harry Maguire, it's a pretty safe thing to say, you know, that he wants to stay. He doesn't want to show any weakness and he really wants to fight for his position no matter where he is. But I don't think this will be anything that gets in the way of Maguire potentially being sold. I think Erik ten Hag, as we've seen with the likes of Ronaldo in the past, you know, he's not afraid to make the big decisions and take out the players that are
100%.
You know, sort of have their allegiances, shall we say, within the media, certainly. So I think, look, and that's a good point that Simon makes there. You know, the money that he's on is astronomical compared to, you know, certainly other players.
Why would you leave? Like, and if your money's on, you're playing, like, you know, your head is big, and I'm playing for Manchester United.
Exactly. And he's also got the captain's armband every time he steps on the pitch.
I'm getting picked for Southgate any day. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly. No, so I think, look, don't get too carried away with the fact that he's saying that he wants to stay. He is saying that. I can confirm that he is saying that kind of stuff. But don't think that's going to get in the way of any potential move if Erik ten Hag especially does sign someone like Kim or even another centre half. Yeah.
No, but he's obviously said to his agent, like, you know, please feel free to look for a club for Harry, of course, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have to come and say, no, I'm happy here, of course. It's all for the play of the gallery, to be honest.
Yeah, you've got to say it. It's optics 100%. At the end of the day, isn't it?
Wicked. Thanks. There's been a lot of talks. There's going to be an interesting window because it's going to be a lot of exodus.
Absolutely.
We don't even have time to cover the outs. That's for another time.
Another time, I'm sure we'll be able to discuss that at a later date, Mick. No problem at all.
Listen, just a quick one regarding, I've been bombarded here in the VR room in the chats and a lot of people asking regarding the sales and takeover. Mick's been doing a lot of podcasts regarding this, so you know my stance already. And I think that certain outlets has played their part as well in terms of selling publications. So there's constantly conflicting stories. One day is this, one day is that. You just have to read in the between. And a lot of things is creative writing, isn't it, Anil?
Yeah.
What's your...
It's look, I think it's almost got to the situation now where I'm getting sick of this takeover talk because it's look, at the end of the day, I think this really does highlight exactly what situation we're in as Manchester United fans, that both Sheikh Yassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, despite reports, I have a feeling and I have a hunch, and a couple of outlets have reported this in fairness, that they're in the dark a little bit in terms of what actually is going on in terms of what the Glazers prefer. So even if there's slight questions of the potential bidders for the Manchester United, obviously the PLC as it is at the moment, you know, it's one of them situations where if the potential buyers are in the dark in a certain way, then what the hell are we as journalists or Manchester United fans expected to believe? So I think, look, obviously we've been given this headline of today, and you know, there's all these theories about you know, Sheikh Yassim putting this in to save face because obviously he knows he's going to lose. To be honest, I think that's absolute garbage if you're asking me. I think, in my opinion, that, let's be realistic, this guy's a sheikh. He's not an everyday, and to understand what I mean when I say this, he's not just your average billionaire, is he? He's on
the top tier.
He's in the upper echelon of the billionaires.
You know, Anil, there's a level of billionaires.
Yeah, and he's at the top of the level. You know, with the creme de la creme, shall we say? But look, I think
basically you can say like this, Anil. He has money. He can pay easily an extra 2-3 million on the top.
But then this is the thing, though, Mick, and look, we'll put it down to real layman's terms for people like me anyway to understand. If you have an apple that you want to sell, right, and you know that apple's worth £2, but you say to me, give me £5 for the apple, and I've got £10 in my pocket, right? I'm not going to pay you £5 just because I've got £10 in my pocket. True. I know that apple is worth £2. I might go up to £3. I might even go up to £3.50, but I'm not going to go up to £5 because I know I'm being ripped off for that apple. And just because I've got the money to afford that doesn't mean I'm going to pay it. And now, look, you just had a few zeros on the end to that. And that's the same situation that Sheikh Yassim's in South. And I think, look, I don't want to give any false hope. I want to, you know, as I always do through my work, you know, try and say it as accurate as I possibly can. And look, I just think the one sort of positive, despite a lot of briefs and outlets reporting that Ratcliffe's in the driving seat the driving seat, should we say. I think the one thing that really has made me question this in the last week or two is the fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid hasn't changed in the last couple of weeks. It's been the same as it has been throughout all of that process. And the only bid that's been changing and ongoing has been Sheikh Yassim's. So
True.
if Ratcliffe's bid is the preferred one, why would they not accept it anyway?
Exactly.
And now this obviously leads to the thing that people are going to say is, look, they're offering Sheikh Yassim an opportunity to up his bid. And he's upped his bid. He's upped his bid several times now. So this is a situation now, realistic, that really surprised me if obviously it's a situation where they just go, right, okay, Ratcliffe, you're the preferred bid. They should have done that weeks ago. But then again, Mick, we are talking about the Glazers, and anything that makes sense is not anything to do with the Glazers. I know I've got to keep professional. Of course, I work for a company like TalkSport, but I don't think it's very risky or, you know, out there or outlandish to say that the Glazers have been nothing short of a disgrace for Manchester United, and they're just on this one final leech that they can do off the club now, whether that's keeping in the 2.0 of the Glazers, what I call Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or they realise they need to wash hands and they're not wanted whatsoever at the club, remains to be seen.
Anil, you hit the nail on the head there, because I've been saying it for quite a while. I've been doing numerous podcasts of this and covering the forensics and following the money, speaking to the right people. And I always said that they always created these fugazi and smoke screens, right?
Yeah.
I even had a good feeling that they were just using Sir Jim Ratcliffe as a prop, like, you know, to just increase the money. Once you had, you know, the debate from a big shark, we're talking about wealth. It's just been to utilize, you know, to milk as much money as possible, to say. And that's why you're seeing there's a lot of stories being leaked out to the press to say that, you know, Ineos is the preferred bidder. But we know they are asset rich, but they're not cash rich at the end of the day. And they always know that, as what you said, you want to buy this apple, but you have £10 in your pocket. You're not just going to buy this for £10 straight away.
Yeah.
But if you are the seller, you know that, you know, Anil has £10.
You know, I've got the £10 in my pocket.
You know you have that money, right?
Precisely.
And at the end of the day, there's going to be a premium bid coming in. Like, you know, it's like going fishing, right? You throw in the fishing bait and you just wait and wait and wait and wait. And finally, you will get that bait. And obviously, I don't believe in this fifth, sixth bidding, stuff like that, what's been coming on. It's just marginal adjustments. I believe that it's come to a conclusion, and it would be a premium price, hefty price. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something after it. It's going to be like in the range of $8 billion on the table, right? Because there's one thing, all in all, there's one thing that we know is, forget about all these reports, forget about this staying, right? At the end of the day, every seller has a price to walk away. Right? Money talks at the end of the day. If you're getting over evaluation, what you actually have, when everyone walks away and you have 6 siblings sharing that apple, what you said, you know, you're just not going to eat the apple by yourself, but you have 6 siblings that want a piece of that apple to eat. Yeah. You know? So 4 siblings over 2 overrides 2. At the end of the day, they're going to have the biggest apple they've ever seen to eat. So that's where we are today, I think. And even if Ben Jacobs came out today, and a lot of people have been flip-flopping back and forward, I mean, Mike Keegan and all of them saying 5th, 6th bid, like, you know, back in May, they even wrote 5th bid already, 17th of May in the Express as well. Like, you know, I have it clipped. So what's it going to be? I think it's more creating more stories and sensational for you to click on. And at the end of the day,
absolutely.
At the end of the day, we're coming to the transfer window. Is it going to be this week? No, I don't think it's going to be this week. But if it's stories coming out from Yassim's camp to say, look, you know, it's not that I'm walking away. It's him taking control to say, I had enough of you, Rain Group. You know, I'm going behind. I'm going to speak in direct and negotiate with the horse's mouth, because I don't like this shadow bidding thing, right? Yeah. That's what it is. I put a premium bid in. I don't know the figure, if it's 8 billion, 7.5, 7.6, who cares, right? What I care about is hand over the keys, please, right? Yeah. Exactly. What's it going to be? I've been bidding with you for 6 months. Give me the keys now.
I think we're all unified in that. And look, let's make no bones about it, that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be a Glazer 2.0. He's borrowing money to get his hands on Manchester United. He's going to lump debt onto the club. And people have this idea that once he's in, that he eventually will get rid of the Glazers. And now let's just put this in very quickly, because I know we need to wrap up, Mick. But if you're going to sell something, would you sell not all of it for however much Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants in a percentage, and then also give up your power and your decision making in that situation. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. And there's so many questions on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid that I'm sure we'll be doing a little bit of content on, Mick, in the coming days. If not, I'll probably be hitting a YouTube video myself to really delve into this, because I just think it's absolute nonsense. Ratcliffe, the clues in the name, I'll leave it at that. But it's a situation where he's not going to provide anything for Manchester United that we haven't seen anyway. So I think, look, there's a
lot of comments there. I can't answer everyone's comment. I'm unfortunately running out of time. Anil, sorry for interrupting you there as well.
No worries at all. No, that's all good. That's all good.
Listen,
thanks a lot, Nick.
Listen, at the end of the day, if the truth will always comes out at the end of the day after this. So just be cool, composed, and calm. People that come to this channel knows that I always try to, think rationally with logic and reasoning. And there's so many trails that can also say that, maybe they've been using Ratcliffe as a bait to get that premium deal at the end of the day. And I wouldn't be surprised, because that has always been the game, to get as much money out for this asset, this so-called Manchester United. And it's a fishing game. That's it.
100%.
We will see, mate.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, in the VR, Chris Jackson just came in. Lucky Steve, I see you all. Red J, Angie, thank you for moderating. I haven't had time to say hi to everyone. Anil, it's always a pleasure. I hope to see you soon again, my friend. I know you got a dash, but people are very, very very impressed with this show and your answers and everything. Look, I hope to see you soon again, and hopefully I will give you back the day as well. I know you gotta go, but thank you so much for
no problem
giving
at
your
all.
insights.
Just very quickly, Mick, I think it's brilliant what you do, the work that you do, how much effort and time you put into all of this stuff. And obviously the community that you have from the comments and stuff. It's really nice to open the floor in, shall we say, to any questions and stuff like that from anyone. So look, I am very busy, as you know, Mick, but look, anytime I can jump on and have a chat, potentially even with some of the rest of the family that you have here for your podcast and your YouTube channel. So look, really happy to do it. Thanks a lot for having me on. Thanks for asking me. And look, I'm sure we'll do this very soon. And hopefully we're talking about a new dawn at Manchester United with Qatari flags waving at Old Trafford. But we'll have to wait and see, I'm sure.
Smash a like for Anil's condolence. Condolas, comments. Please like and subscribe. You know that Jazz, subscribing is free. The like buttons is free. You don't burn any extra calories. We don't take dividends like the Glazers, if you know what I mean. It's free, but it certainly helps for me myself to continue to bring in Anil. It takes a lot of time and planning, of course. We've been planning this for a while, and hopefully I can get you in within 2 weeks when we open the window. We will see, guys. But it's been a fantastic pleasure to have Anil Kandola from Talk Sports. Anil, where can they find you on Twitter? Where can you find in the certain spaces?
Yep. So obviously I'll do my own podcast. It's called the Content Podcast. I'll do all sorts on there. But if you just want to type my name in, literally at Anil Kandola, how it's spelled on the screen there that you can see for Twitter, which I mostly use, and obviously other social medias as well. That's my name. So yeah, thanks to Dan, thanks to obviously Angie and all the other comments that I can see as well, Jarvis as well.
So Jamie said, I'm not a fan of TalkSport, but I'm following this guy.
That's okay. That's okay. You don't have to be a fan of everything. That's more than okay. But thank you anyway. I do massively appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. And like I said, I'll be sure to try my best to come on as quick as I can. And hopefully we're talking something positive, Mick, maybe a sign in, maybe some, as I say, Qatari flags. But we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, thank you to everyone in the chat, in the community, and especially to you, Mick. Thanks a lot.
Have a nice weekend. Have a happy Friday. And we will give you back your day. See you, people. Bye for now. Love. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.